The wet-on-wet technique is a great way to paint clouds when you're in a hurry. For instance, when you're working plein air and the light is constantly changing. That's why I'm working on paper this time. I did almost all my plein air painting on paper. I'm beginning with a mix of titanium white and king's blue for the sky, gradually adding more king's blue. And a hint of Scheveningen blue, an old Holland color. It's a greenish blue with a lot of pigment, so go easy on it. If you don't have the Scheveningen blue, you can use any greenish blue available. Okay, now we're starting with the wet-on-wet part. I'm mixing titanium white and a little bit of violet grey to do the clouds. I'm outlining the shape of the clouds with a number 1 synthetic brush. Maybe you've noticed the tone variations of the outline. On a dry bottom layer it would have had more or less the same color everywhere, but here it's constantly changing as a result of the wet blue layer and the amount of paint still left on the brush. If you want your clouds to look natural, you need these variations. When you use the wet-on-wet technique, they come effortlessly. I want to darken the shadows of the clouds, so I'm mixing titanium white, indigo blue and a little violet grey. The badger hair fan brush to smooth the surface of the clouds. I'm wiping out the paint in the areas where I'm planning to do the highlights. I need a dry surface to keep them as light as possible. Vermilion red, titanium white and a little liquid, and an odd camera viewpoint. Don't know what happened here. Working on a wet surface means that it's easy to create smooth transitions. The downside is that your highlights will never be as bright as on a dry surface, even though I cleaned some paint areas with a cloth. Like the great Dutch soccer player Johan Cruyff once said, every advantage has a disadvantage. Or was it the other way around? Long ago, when I was still doing a lot of plein air painting, I often finished the sketch the next day. Like I said, on a dry surface it's much easier to get the color contrasts you're looking for. So, summing up, the wet-on-wet technique has some upsides. It's quick and it's easy to get the soft edges, and only one downside. You can't get brilliant highlights, at least not in one sitting. Still, it's worth to give it a try.